Hey, what's good, everybody? It's me, your hero, Benjamin Banks, and you're watching Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. And joining me, as always, is my co-host from the Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks podcast, Trav, the Trash Man Martin. Trav, how you doing today?
Bro, I'm here, and I got something in my eye right now. I don't know what's going on.
Hey, all right, all might. Hey,
you
were supposed to swallow the hair and not put it in your eye, man.
Nah, I don't do that neither.
Oh, well,
I can't stand hair in my mouth. Ugh.
Hey, well, that's the reason why you'll never have one for all. And today we are reviewing Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Me and Trav went to go see this at the movie theaters, and it was awesome. And before we get into today's episode, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and you hit that bell button so that way you're always notified when we have new content here on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. And Trav, like D always says, every time we do a video.
And you know that podcast is in the description. Like, follow, subscribe. Let's get to it.
And before we get into today's review too, everybody, there will be spoiler talk in this review. So if you haven't seen the movie, then I highly recommend that you don't watch this review, but watch it after you watch the movie. Or if you want to watch the review up for, I want to say what, Trav, the next 2 to 5 minutes, we're not going to be talking about that many spoilers, like the big spoiler that we want to talk about. But
we're going to get to that mid-credit scene.
Yeah, we're going to get to that mid-credit scene. But
I want to change it before then.
Let's go ahead and get into it. Trav, this movie was awesome. I enjoyed it more than the first movie. I love the fact that, you know, that they had more character development for Venom in this movie. Like in the first movie, the development was all about Eddie Brock. It was him coming into his own and trying to find himself, because you know he ended up losing Anne. You know, he lost his job. He was, on his, his luck was down. You know what I'm saying? And he gets bonded with the symbiote Venom, and they become the lethal protectors, just like they are in this movie. And that was one of the things that I loved that Venom kept saying. Because Trav, I don't know like how well versed you are into the Venom comics, but like that's what the Venom comics used to be called back in the day. They was Venom, the lethal protector. And the only reason why I know that is because I collected some of those comics, because Venom, like, he's one of my favorite Spider-Man villains turned into an anti-hero. When I used to play the Spider-Man and Venom video games back in the day, I always chose Venom because, he was like Spider-Man, but he was stronger and
cooler.
He was cooler, the black suit. Like, it was just something about Venom that, just always stuck out to me. And, when these movies came out, like, I was so happy that they did the character justice, unlike they did in the Spider-Man 3 movie. But, this movie was fire. Trav, like, what was your take on it?
It was really good. Honestly, I think the first one's just okay. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a good beginning movie, but I think the first one isn't as good as people make it out to be. Like, it's just an okay, good movie.
Yeah.
This one really kicked it up a notch, dude. Yeah. All the fighting was awesome. The CGI was great. Eddie Brock's and Venom's relationship has really,
it's just like
gone
ours.
up. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's just like I'm Eddie Brock.
Except you don't
Venom.
live in my body.
No, you're Venom.
Why? I'm cooler.
No, I'm cooler. I'm
Eddie Brock looks strung out, homeless.
Hey, I'm just saying. But no, I agree with you, man. I agree. Something too that I wanted to piggyback off of what you were saying is how, Venom feels like his own character. It's like, when we usually see Eddie Brock and Venom, whether it be in video games or cartoons and stuff like that, it's like, it always just seems like it's always Eddie Brock. And then,
I can agree.
And Venom is just a part of him. Whereas in this, it's like Venom is his own person. Like, I thought it was fun when we got to see the scene where Venom was just like, you know what? I don't have to stand for this. I'm leaving, just like Steve Urkel used to do. And Venom was bonding with other people, but he couldn't stay bonded with them, and he wanted to go out and do his own thing. But the whole club scene was fire, man. I thought it was funny.
So good.
When we were watching it in the theater, like he was on stage talking. He was just like, Eddie, he wouldn't let me come out, and I'm finally out. And like everybody that's in the club, they think that this man is finally coming out of the closet. They cheering for him. And it's just funny because, I mean, like the stuff that he was saying is usually stuff that, you know, people in the queer community say when they're coming out, or when they have people like, you know, whether it be friends or family that are,
it's an emotional moment.
Yeah, exactly. So it was cool for him to, you know, finally come out and say the stuff that he wanted to say how he really felt. And, you know, I just love, like you said, Trav, the bond that Eddie and Venom have, man. It's so wonderful. And then, you know, speaking of bonds, we get the bond with Carnage and Cletus Cassidy. And, you know, honestly, bro, I mean, just like how I was saying about with Venom and Eddie, it was the same thing with them as well, because usually it's, you know, it's just Cletus talking, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It was interesting seeing that Carnage was his own thing as well. Like, how did you feel about that?
Yeah, no, I agree. I also thought, so this is my question, and I always wondered why. I don't know if this was answered when they were making their rounds, but, you know, the end credits scene that, you know, they show him in the jail cell, and he's got, you know, the afro white boy puff, you know, the curly hair.
What is it? A carrot top. That's what he had.
Yeah, and they completely changed the hair for, you know, the movie. I don't know what he looks like in the comics, so I don't know what the replica is versus which one it is or why they made the change, but I'm glad they made the change, dude.
Oh, because for sure.
When they show him in there, and, you know, it's no like disrespecting any white dudes with curly hair or anything like that, but he ain't look intimidating. You know what I mean?
Not supposed, well, Cassidy, he doesn't look intimidating. Like, he just looks crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's intimidating. Like, I wouldn't mess with that dude. You don't feel like that at that end credit scene at the end of Venom. In my opinion.
You laugh. You know,
yeah,
it's
you
just
laugh.
Like, what is
you're like, this is goofy guy.
Because, you know, it's like Cassidy, because, you know, Spider-Man and Batman, they're both parallel. And, you know, Cassidy is similar. Cassidy and the Green Goblin are both very similar to the Joker, especially with their mannerisms and stuff like that. I feel like in this movie, Woody Harrelson, he was crazy, but I don't feel like he was Joker level crazy like how I've seen Cassidy and other stuff. And other stuff, like Cassidy, like we saw how he was in Spider-Man the animated series. Like, he was very animated. You know what I'm saying? Whereas in this,
he's a loose cannon.
I feel like in this, like Woody Harrelson, he was crazy, but he was more of a badass crazy. Like, when he went into the gas station and he hopped the counter and was beating the dude's ass behind the counter, like, I thought that was funny. So, I mean, he did have funny moments. And, you know, also talking about him, you know, he's trying to save his girlfriend because they were both in a mental institution, and they grow up together. They grew up loving each other, and then she ends up leaving so that way they can study her. I mean, they really don't talk about like why they're taking her away for real. They just take her away, and
they're taking her because she has these powers.
Yeah, but I mean, but it's like we really don't get like, well, are they trying to extract the powers from her? Are they trying to learn about? It's like we really don't get any of that.
Yeah, they're just experimenting on her.
Well, see, but that's what I'm saying. We don't even know if they're experimenting on her, because it's like all we see is like they take her away, and then it's like years go by, and she is locked up in a soundproof room. You know what I'm saying? And like that's all we know. Like, we don't know if you know, they took any of her powers or tried to do anything. You know, and I wish that they would have had, you know, gone a little bit more on that and shown what she was capable of, what they were doing, because then the doctor that was experimenting on her, it's like they just killed her. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's my issue with comic book movies when they do this sort of thing. They feel like they have to shoehorn in people from comics, and the movie could have just done without her. You know what I mean? And still been the movie that it was, in my opinion. She served no real purpose except to move certain plot points forward.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why they shoot in comic book characters just to do that. It seems wasteful, and it seems like you're just throwing in comic book characters to do it when they serve no real purpose.
Now, at the end of the movie, during the big fight, we get Venom versus Carnage, and of course Carnage, he loses the fight because the difference between Venom and Eddie and then Carnage and Cassidy is that Eddie and Venom, they were able to bond, whereas with Carnage and Cassidy, they weren't able to bond. Now also too, something I want to touch on too is like how he becomes Carnage, because he bites Eddie's hand and he's like, hey, your blood tastes different. Yeah. He was like, your blood, that's not no normal blood. And he was like, I bit a lot of people in my time, and that's not any normal blood. And then that little drop of blood was able to, put Carnage inside of him. But I thought that it was interesting too. We also got to see Anne as Lady Venom again, which was cool. Right. I'm glad we got to see that. But I wanted to touch on Detective Mulligan. So at the end of the movie, he ends up fighting Shriek, and she ends up killing him supposedly. But we see that he's still alive and that his eyes are turning a different color. So Trav, I don't know if you know anything about him or if you looked it up, but Mulligan, he ends up getting a symbiote of his own, and he becomes Toxin in the comics. But I don't know if he bit anybody or if he had got any of the symbiote inside of him. I mean, it's like it wasn't really explained. All we just see is that his eyes turn to a different color. Like Trav, like, do you have any takes on that?
No, because I mean, when it comes to comics, I'm just really not into Marvel like that. I've just always been a DC guy, so I'm really the only Marvel comics I own outside of stuff I had when I was childhood is just Star Wars. So I don't know anything about the Venom. If it went on Spider-Man the Animated Series, I really don't know too much about it, to be honest with you.
Okay. But no, I just know it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen in Venom 3. Now, just to let everybody know right now, it's like now we're about to get into, like, I mean, I know we've been talking spoilers during this review, but now we're about to get into like the big spoiler. So if you are watching this video and you haven't seen the movie, I recommend you stop watching now. But please make sure that you like this video, you subscribe to the channel, and make sure that you hit that bell button so that way you're always notified when we have new content. But Trav, you ready to go ahead and talk about the big spoiler?
The best part of the movie?
Let's go ahead and get into it. 3, 2, 1. Bro, Venom is in the same universe as the main MCU, and everybody in that theater marked out when it happened. It's like it was something that none of us expected coming. I mean, I thought that they was just gonna, talk about because Venom, he talked about his home world, and we already know from the first movie that he was the weakest symbiote out of all of them. And I thought that they were gonna mention like the leader of all of the symbiotes. Like I can't remember what his name is, but they've shown him in the comics, and like he has like a black symbiote that has red up there and whatnot. And they said that this man is like God tier, like he's like an omni level villain in the MCU. Well, not MCU, but in the Marvel universe. Right. And I thought that that's what we were going to get to, but instead it's like when Venom is about to open up to Eddie and tell him like all of this vast knowledge from the universe, from all his years of being alive, it just gets snapped. And like Eddie's in a different room. Like at first he was in a rundown hotel room, but now he's in a fancy room. You can see the beach out in the distance, and then he's looking at the TV. And Trav, what do we see on the TV?
Hey, Mr. Tom Holland himself, aka Peter Parker, Spider-Man, baby.
The blip happened.
The news.
And pretty much it was the end of Spider-Man Far From Home. Yes, Far From Home, when J. Jonah Jameson was talking on TV, and he was just like, it's been announced that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And like it was so awesome. And when Venom was just like, I like him, I want to see him, then he licks the TV, bro. Like we are finally going to get black suit Spider-Man, like the true black suit Spider-Man. Like I am a huge fan of the black suit, and like just full on black, that white symbol on the suit. And I'm hoping that when we finally get this movie, I know it's
PlayStation colors.
I know it's not going to happen to Spider-Man No Way Home, because that movie already seems action-packed. But maybe in Venom 3, when Venom goes to wherever Spider-Man is, we can finally get that fight between Spider-Man and Venom.
Absolutely.
And bro, I'm hoping when Venom, because I'm assuming that something is going to happen where Spider-Man gets some of the symbiote on him and he gets the black suit. But I'm hoping that symbiote goes back to Eddie, and when it goes back to Eddie, like Venom will finally have the logo that he has on him, like the white symbol, and he'll also have Spider-Man's powers after that, like being able to shoot the webs and stuff. Because I mean, like, I've always liked that Venom has the tentacles and whatnot, but one of the things that makes Venom cool is that he is a stronger and more deadlier version of Spider-Man, and like that's the reason why I love Venom. But Trav, like, what are some of your thoughts on the future of the Venom franchise now that it's a part of the MCU?
Yeah, well, my prediction is Sony's not interested in lending out Venom to the MCU, so it's definitely not happening No Way Home, and I don't see it happening in any sort of MCU movies going forward. I think what Sony's looking for is, you can still use this IP, but we want to use them too for our movies so we can make money. And I really think that's going to be whatever happens in No Way Home, as far as what happens with Spider-Man, that's going to lead into Venom and Venom 3 and doing those sort of things. So I'm really excited about that. Everybody knows my opinion. I don't think Tom Holland's Spider-Man movies are good. They're okay at best. They're just okay. Like, they're worth the watch, and then I don't watch them anymore.
I feel like that the reason why Spider-Man No Way Home is going to probably be the best one is because we're going to get all of these returning actors playing villains from previous Spider-Man films. And then the rumors of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield possibly being in the movies. Like, that's the only reason why I feel like this is going to be the best and biggest Spider-Man movie to come out. When it comes to live action, that is. But I mean, it's one of those things where it's just like, okay, now after this movie, like, where do you go from there? So I can see what you're saying about, maybe like they'll cool down on the Spider-Man movies, because I do think that No Way Home is the final Spider-Man movie. And then now you can interject Spider-Man into the Sony Venom universe thing. And then we can because what's his name? Vulture, he's supposed to be in the Morbius movie. You know what I'm saying? Michael Keaton is reprising his role and going to be in that. And Sony, for the longest time, they've been wanting to do a Sinister Six movie, so we can finally get that, where you have I feel like they're kind of doing that with Spider-Man No Way Home. They're going to fight the Sinister Six in that, but with Tom Holland coming over to the Sony side of things, I feel like there's so many things that you can do with Spider-Man, because they've been wanting to do like their own Spider-Man verse for such a long time, like going all the way back to the Tobey Maguire films. They wanted to do a Spider-Verse.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's the end of the spoilers and stuff like that. Let us know in the comments like what you think is going to happen. Like, were you hyped when you saw the mid-credit scene and everything? Were you as hyped as we were? Trav, final thoughts on Venom Let There Be Carnage, and what is your final rating? If you have any final thoughts. If you don't have any final thoughts and you just want to give a rating, then go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing else to say except for Tom Hardy is just incredible, man. This dude goes from playing guys like Mad Max to Bane and Batman to looking like a straight bum, in Venom. And Tom Hardy's range on what he can do is so good, and I'm a huge fan of Tom Hardy. I thought this movie was pretty good, but I'm really excited to see where it's going to go now. So, I give the movie 8 out of 10.
Okay. One thing I wanted to touch on with Tom Hardy is like, bro, how cool would it have been to had run into him when he was here in Norfolk when the first Venom movie came out? Because sometimes the actors, they'll go to the military bases and they'll do like a private screening. And when Venom came out, he was here. So it's like, you know, you always hear those stories of like, I was at the airport and that would have just been awesome. But for me, I really enjoyed the film. Like I said, it was much better than the first movie, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen next. I can't wait to see Venom versus Spider-Man, because like ever since I saw it as a kid on Spider-Man the animated series, like that's what had me hooked.
For sure.
I'm just looking forward to it. I'm giving this movie a 9 out of 10 because I enjoyed it from beginning to the end. I don't feel like that there were any dull parts in the movie. There were never any parts in the movie where it slowed down. Like it just kept going and going and going like the Energizer Bunny, the entire thing. So let us know in the comments what you thought about the movie. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let us know what your rating is. Trav, let them know where they can find you at the social media land.
That's right. You can find me on the Instagram at ZK Audio. Then you can head on over to the Twitter and find me at TravioszK, where I'm also on Letterboxd, and where they gonna find podcast number 1 hero at.
You can find me, your hero Benjamin Banks, at KingBenji_Banks on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me on Facebook at Benjamin Banks. I should be the first person to pop up. If not, then I need to contact Mr. Zuckerberg. Thank you again for watching this review. Make sure you check out some more of our reviews that we have here on the channel, along with interviews, reaction videos. Check out our podcast where we drop new episodes every Tuesday, and then that episode is in video form on YouTube on Friday. Like I always say, keep that pinky up, stay positive, stay safe. We'll see you next time on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Peace.
Thanks again, everybody, for watching another episode of Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe to the channel. Podcast, we got that too. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and hit that bell for further episodes and notifications. Thanks a lot to our patrons. And if you don't mind, join the Patreon. We'll be having new specials coming up soon.